when we use this stuff, it's amazing how fast it works from what we've experienced. It don't even seem real. It seemed fake. In my mind, y'all done sprayed things on my body for years. I've never had anything do that. It's amazing. That's all I can say about it. I try to give a person at least a day. I've noticed in 15 minutes, it works really good. You put it on somebody's temple, if they got a headache, you massage the head, put it on the temple, put it on the top of the head, back of the neck. Usually about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, the headache is gone. I've done that and seen it a number of times. I've even used it on that season. I know what I'm talking about? Yeah, I used it on the season. And I had some seasoners come along and say, I'm in the seasonal period. And I was like, all right. And so we used it and it worked. It worked. Even though a lot of times when you're suffering, you may have medicine and just don't even have the will to even get it and use it. Somebody else have to push you to use your medicine. I'll be honest, when I get a headache, I just don't even feel like doing nothing. I want to just lay around. And it may be someone like my daughter who will say, Daddy, you want me to spray you with some spray? And I want to say no, and don't even know why I'm saying no. But then I'll turn around and say, okay. Yeah, but I would run that until there's nothing left, use up the material, roll down the pants leg, relax, move on like it didn't happen. I didn't mention this, but when it comes to scarring, it doesn't only help with the pain. I used a trench digger, and my hand was too close to a metal fixture, and the handle of the trench digger was metal as well. So when it jumped, it just crushed my hand, and it made my hand bleed. Well, the hand got swollen. It bled, got swollen, but I had that little girl in the yellow to run and get the spray. And even though it was bleeding, I sprayed it anyway with the blood and all. The next day I did have the swelling, and I did have some pain. I sprayed it again, and the day after that I sprayed it again. Well, eventually my pain went away, but when I tried to show somebody which hand it was, there is no scar at all. I can't find no scar at all. I mean, no sign of a scar. And we've used it on other areas where we wanted to see if the scarring would go away, and it takes away the scar. In fact, there's an older woman we know, she had a hip replacement, and she was spraying it on her hip, and she was saying that her therapist was saying they can't tell which side, but for some reason it helps with the scarring. But enough talk about that. Yep. Yeah, even though it's in this is actually a refill bottle. Usually you use that to pour into a spray bottle, but it's usually come in a spray bottle. But you had a question? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll say this. No, I'll tell you why. I got a friend in the back, one of the nicest people you guys will meet. I don't even have to say his name. Y'all know who he is. He's been knowing me for years. And for years we've been trying to go forward with the medical missionary work. But to my sad amazement, we're not built to have much respect for the work. So the missionaries end up having to ask for support. Can you help us out? You know, we're having to ask for what actually was supposed to be provided to us. In asking, we start trying to get creative. You know, when you have needs, people counsel you. And people would tell me, oh, the Apostle Paul, and then they go into that tent maker, et cetera, et cetera. Sometimes you have to have something to make something happen. Y'all know what I'm talking about? You can't just bring nothing out of the dust, man. It don't happen that easy. Well, over the years, we started, because I researched, I would prepare something and then I would give it to people who needed it and it would work. But then in my heart, I would say, well, maybe this is one of the ways God can help us make things work. But then I have people that have more interest in it than I have. And we got some products that's on the market because some people didn't have the will to support the work, but they took it and they did it, you know? And I had one person, they were so cruel, they threw it in my face and was like, I sure did do it. They didn't have no problem with it. They hit me hard. They had business cards made. They took everything, the name, the font, everything. And they deceived me. They told me, they started off saying, I'm with you, I'm for your ministry. I love what you're doing. And then they said, one day in a busy place, hey, I'm at this convention and I want to make your product and promote it and show the people what you have. Can you tell me what the ingredients are so I can make it? And me being kind, not want to be rude, a voice told me, it ain't what you think. So I give them 3 out of 5 ingredients. Next time I see them, they got my name, they got everything. And then they put it in the stores. Handed me the business card while I was in a meeting like this. When I was walking out, they handed me the business card. I just prayed about it, and it was kind of sad, but one of the pastors told me, good, that's what you get. Now you'll believe in the products. If other people around you believe in them. I heard him, and I got his point. He said, God will give you some more, and he was right. He was right. So I've gotten more, but now I've learned not to be that verbal. And that hurts me a little bit because it makes me feel like I'm stingy. I don't like that feeling. I'll be honest, I hate it. And so we have a lot of products, but we found ways to, I'm going to say, beat the system. So we have ways to protect those products and still have them out there. Circumstance and struggle brought us to that point. I don't like it again because if we love each other, why would we be doing this? I don't feel right. But I've been told and counseled, even through the inspired pen, Ellen White counseled Kellogg that he was not supposed to tell people about how to make the cornflakes. He wasn't supposed to share it. And another pastor presented that to me and was like, look at this. If God gave it to you, use it to support your work. Since you're having a difficult time with that, use it to support the work. So I will say to you guys that certain things that we do is concealed under a support mission that we're doing. But I won't withhold or hide what's in the product. I just have a way of being able to conceal things. We have to work within the system. You got to know what you're using because you could potentially have an allergic reaction, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm glad I'm able to do it. I'm glad I'm able to use it. And this is the reason behind my verbiage, y'all. We've had a lot of products that have been very successful, but I didn't understand how to protect those products. And I was young in that world. I didn't understand the business of that and didn't even understand Christians, to be honest. I hate to say that. I didn't understand Christians. Where I come from, when we say something, we mean what we say. I wasn't used to being around, and it's not Christians. It's just you can get pockets of bad people that happen to be professing to be church folk. That's what I've learned. And so it's given me a little bit of tough skin. I still don't like the way I feel because I know when you are a family and when you are God's children, that love should be able to flow. You should be able to just pour that love out. But guess what? KFC man don't have to give me nothing, none of his ingredients for me to still be his buddy. I ain't eating the chicken. But y'all get my point, right? I've talked about our products, but I ain't not talked about general heat, moist heat. If you got a microwave at home and you got towels in your bathroom, you have therapeutic materials. But please hear what I'm going to tell you. There are people who burn their family members because they have not mastered what they're doing. Do the therapies on yourself. Do them on yourself. If you don't, you can hurt somebody. I know a woman, she showed me her husband the other day, and he said that while she was working on him, he was watching the football game. I don't know how he fell asleep with that much heat on him, but he said, I felt like it was tingling, I got sleepy, I figured it was working. Well, he burned himself really bad. And his wife did it, and she was a nurse. But no matter what your credentials are, you got to be careful. Is that all right? Infectious pain. How do we deal with infectious pain? This liniment that I'm talking about putting on, you could take herbs. There's an herb called white oak bark. You could take herbs. You could take a wet towel, like a face towel. Most of your herbs that detox, you can take that herb and dab it on topically. And that herb will detox through the mouth of your pores. Your pores receive material. You know the pain patches people put on, the smoking patches? That stuff get down in your bloodstream going straight through your tissue. You can dab something on like I just did here and get the same results. One counselor of herbs said any herb that'll work inside of you will work on the outside of you as well, the same way. Now you do have an acid mantle on your skin, so you want to be careful with highly alkaline material. There's a woman online, you guys know who she is. She likes to use baking soda to pack people with to try to deal with cancer. But you notice she put lemon with the baking soda? And the reason she put the lemon with the baking soda is the baking soda is highly alkaline, and it could damage what's called your acid mantle. But if you use the lemon with it, the lemon is acidic. Externally, it'll kind of balance out and protect your acid mantle while still providing the service that the baking soda is offering. So you do want to consider that as well. But again, you can use herbs as pain relievers as well. There's a great herb I love to use in severe pain, and that herb is called kava kava. It's a Fijian herb, and they drink it and they talk forever and ever and ever. It's known to make you talk. Y'all probably laughing at me saying you definitely have had some of that. But it also has some narcotic effects. If you drink too much, you get a little happy. Yeah, you get happy. I had a toothache. I had some dental work that needed to be done, and I took it. It does knock the pain out right away. It's good. It's really good. But you will get happy, real happy. But you got to be careful when you take it because you can get what they call a kava rash. You'll get these hives that'll break out, arms and legs and back. I ended up getting kava rashes because when I took it, I liked it. But when I was taking it, I didn't know it was having no effect in a bad way. I was just trying to get rid of the pain. And so it always worked, but I was trying to accelerate it and make it happen faster. So I took a little extra, and I see your hand. I took a little extra, and I was laying in the bed, talking to my wife. My little daughter was there. And I forget what we was talking about. But I just felt much better. I felt really good. So I felt like smiling. Then I felt like laughing. And everything got funny. And people started looking a little bit weird. And they were all very funny. I got sleepy. And I fell asleep. My wife said, honey, you had too much. You were giggling and talking. And she was like, no, that's too much of that stuff. So I didn't take it. I stopped because I'm not trying to be a drug addict. But I liked it. It was nice. I liked that one. It was good. But I ended up getting the rash because I had too much. So that rash hit. And when the rash hit, I was itching. And when I got the rash, I'm like, Lord, why am I itching on my back? Why do I have these hives? And the Lord said, that's what I gave you with the kava so that you don't abuse it. And I said, all right. So I don't abuse it. Never been a person that abused anything except for, I guess, the kava kava. That lasted only about a month. I didn't use it every day, y'all. I used it when I needed it. But the kava, what's nice about it, it's an antiseptic as well. So when you use it, you don't have to use it for long. When you use it, it kills infection too. So it not only knock out the pain, it killed the infection. So after a while, you don't have a need for it. You don't want to use it because you don't have a need. You don't have any more pain. Any questions? Go ahead. It definitely has a caution. People in Fiji, when I was down in Fiji, I met a lot of Fijians that use kapa kapa. They knew about it. In fact, they make it into a beverage and they drink it. And they get in like a little gathering, and they say that when you drink it, you just want to talk. So they would get together, drink it, and just talk. I didn't hear about it killing anybody, but it was still caution not to abuse it. And I don't mind telling you guys how I felt, because I do want you to know that it does have some mild addictive qualities, some mild narcotic effects. So you want to be careful with that. Any questions? Any questions about anything? What was that? The burdock, I would drink it as a tea. And if you're going to use it externally, I would make that same tea a little stronger, and I would just dab it on the local area. Arthritis, gout, gangrene, tumors, any kind of infectious condition, any kind of infection on the tissue, it will really help with that. Well, I just want to make sure I satisfy the service. Okay. Well, it's interesting. They have what they call bread and milk poultices. Anybody ever heard of that? Bread and milk poultices? Well, they would take a piece of bread, a little slice of bread, and they would. I'll make sure I will work the mic the right way. They would take a piece of bread and they would put milk on it, and they would warm that up, and they would apply that where you had inflammation. And the inflammation would reduce down under the presence of the bread and the milk. So I never look far enough to see, is it the active ingredients in the milk or the actual bread itself? But it works. It works. That's written in medical literature. It works. In fact, if you look at medical literature old enough, you'll see all these natural remedies. They just left the natural remedies to be able to make more money using a different system. But in their old lexicons and journals, you'll see them using natural remedies as well. Is there another question? And if it is, just raise your hand so that someone can bring you the mic. Brother Alabi, Brother Ricardo. Just raise your hand and raise your hand. How you doing with the bang?
Thank you.
Glory to God. I'm glad to hear that. Feel better? Come on. I didn't mention, but when you have lactic acid buildup, when you bang a knee or an arm, you're going to have lactic acid, uric acid. We're toxic, but we don't realize it. When we fall and get an injury, as that blood passes through that area, it leaves waste. And that waste remains there. That's how a person have arthritis in the knee, and arthritis just never go away. And so you don't understand. So somebody tell you got to use certain drugs for the rest of your life. Methotrexate, they're doing tests on your liver, and really you don't really need to do that. All you need to do is detox the area. And once you detox the area, the pain don't come back. But we're toxic, brothers and sisters. When we're not active enough, we're running dirty blood. Then when we bang or injure, we get a collection of dirty material. And over the years, people can have a pain still existing from an injury years ago because he have a bank of he's been eating the same. So the toxicity in his blood is just maintaining the waste there. It's not going to get any better. It'll feel better for a little while until he start eating wrong or living wrong. Somebody know what I'm talking about. You ever eat something you shouldn't be eating, and then you get a pain, and when you stop eating it, the pain go away, you eat it again, the pain come back. That used to happen to me when I used to have my dental issues. I couldn't do maple syrup, but I wanted it. I wanted pancakes when I didn't eat them. Tooth hurt. My wife said, honey, what are you doing? And I say, it's just one pancake, honey. She said, honey, you know you don't do maple syrup. You don't get along with it. I said, yeah, I know. But I'm feeling good. And I eat it, day or two later. I'm not talking that much. And she's like, you okay? She said, your tooth hurting, huh? And I said, a little bit. Anyway, toxicity. Toxicity maintains toxicity. If there's not a detox, guess what? Can't restore. Notice that the sanctuary has to be cleansed until 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed, right? It has to be cleansed. Everything has to be cleansed. Most of us, in fact, I would say, you ain't gonna like what I'm gonna say, the high majority of us in the room, if we're not eating a clean diet and we don't have a faithful exercise routine, our blood is not as clean as it could be. But do understand, you could be sitting in a room just like this, and if you understand how to breathe properly, you can detox your blood just breathing properly. Just breathing properly. You can be healthier than a person who's eating right. Bad air will kill you faster than bad food will. People don't know that. Bad air will pollute you faster than bad food will. Very strange, isn't it? It's a fact. It's a fact. The Inspired Pen says that when you have a house and you got an extra, what they call a spare room, and say you close the windows and you close the door and that room is like a closet. Say you get Uncle David or Brother John come over passing through and you say, I got a spare room, you can go and sleep in there. She said, death is in that room. She said that person can go in that room and lay in that bed and die. That stagnant, stale, dead air, he has no way to traffic or trade that oxygen. At our facility, you would tell me this was bad marketing, but I'm doing this because I'm just being honest with you. At our clinic, when we first bought the building, we didn't have windows. We don't have no windows. We have windows in the front, and then we have doors on the opposite end, but we have outside air coming in through like an air conditioned type system. I would open the front doors, and we always get a good breeze that passed through and clean the place out. But when I first got in there, and I first was in the building, after it had been closed up for years, I got a headache just being in the room, sitting there. My head started hurting, because the oxygen was no good, the air was no good. So we had to run that air just to clean the air up. So just be mindful, if you want to detox the tissue, it's very important that you consider the quality of the air. The prophet will tell you to keep a window cracked about 1 inch. And if you keep that window cracked 1 inch, this kind of weather, you guys got the best weather. I could have said we, but I ain't here no more. But you have the best weather here, so you're winning. You're winning, and you don't have all the flies and mosquitoes. Now, my sister, I can tell she done some traveling. So, I can tell by the way you comment on the Kava Kava. But listen to this. When you travel these other countries, it's very humid a lot of times. You got a lot of mosquitoes at night, flying roaches, big, giant flying roaches. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Go to Bermuda. You can have the windows down in the car, and they'll come off the bushes and fly right in the car. And they're the big ones, but they're big and healthy. They're outdoor roaches, so they're probably eating wood and stuff. It's probably not a lot of domestic roaches. They're not eating like waste in people's homes. But when your light is on in the car, you'll hear a loud grrr, and boom, they're in there. And that thing moves so fast, it runs behind the dashboard. It goes up in the light, and you see it, and you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And then it hits the dashboard and run behind. Now you in there with the roach. But in California, you don't have that problem. So hallelujah, amen. Any other questions? Any other questions?
Yes.
You won't hear anything about rectal feeding now because you have PEC tubes, gastrointestinal tubes. They won't ever talk about that, because think about it. When you look at the billing behind doing a G tube, Think about it. It's more money in that than doing it rectally. And the Bible says the love of money is the root of all evil. If we see on the news that the world's getting more evil, we also see the love of money becoming more aggressive. That means dishonesty is rising up. As sure as a crime is rising up, dishonesty is just as strong as a crime. When you see bold robberies, when I was in LA, the gangbangers that I knew coming up that used to have everybody in the neighborhood scared, now they scared. It's the honest truth. It's honest truth. I got a certain friend, and he says, man, when I go home, I circle the house twice. I look in the rearview mirror. Now, he was the robber robbing everybody when we was kids. Now, he circled the house twice. He told me, if you go in a restaurant, you got to be careful. Don't wear nothing. Don't take out no iPads. He said, they just come in, cameras and all. And it's true. I went in the neighborhood, and a friend of mine said, you see these cameras? He said, it looks just like this in prison. So I asked him the other day, I talked to him, and I said, hey, man, what's going on? He said, nothing much. We're just having a problem with the Hispanics, this kind of gang wars. And so I said, well, y'all got the cameras down there. Don't the police see all that? He said, man, everything is done right in front of the cameras. He said, everything is done right in front of the cameras. So boldness in your morality has increased, which tells us that dishonesty monetarily, we see that increasing as well. Jobs, their employees lying to the clients to get more money out of them. Isn't that sad?
That's what I'm really, concerned about. And I thought that, that was very important, instead of, all the tubes and everything that they have. And so I had a lot of problems with that,
Well, I mentioned this to you real quick. If you can make soup and strain the soup, you can do rectal feeding.
Right.
The rectum can eat just like the mouth, but you can't overfeed it.
Right.
If you overfeed the rectum, it'll gag. And if it gags, that's a bowel movement.
Yeah, that's true.
So you only have to put so much. It's like, I would say, an ounce. Mm-hmm. Do an ounce every 5 to 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. An ounce. Literally 1 ounce. And you want to know what an ounce is? Set up your feeding system and just turn it on and count to 1. And look and see what your quantity is. And when you get to an ounce, you know the numbers by counting.
Absolutely.
So once you insert it, you hit the switch, count. You got a little back pressure because you're going inside of that cavity. But 9 out of 10, you count, you're going to get the same measurement. And you'll know if you're doing it right, because if they have an urge to go, you're doing it too fast. But if they say, I'm okay, I don't feel nothing, you're okay.
You're absolutely correct. You're correct about that, because I was trained to do that years ago, 40-some years ago. Nursing is much different now. Yeah. And when people come down with cancer or terminal illnesses, I was fighting with them, over the dying issue, which is in debate, as to whether, when you remove all the tubes and everything, you take all the nutrition from the patient, you're literally letting them die. You're not giving them God's time to die. You're speeding up the death process.
It's true.
And that's what I don't believe in. I don't believe in these new methods. And I told my niece the other day, I said, if you have to ever care for me and my son is no longer around, please do not give me some type of nutrition, I want
to ask a question real quick.
Yes, sir.
Real quick. It's going to seem political.
Okay.
Don't nobody take this the wrong way.
I wouldn't.
You said you don't agree with the methods they're using today.
Right.
In relation to how they deal with terminal cases.
Yes.
Is there anybody in here, and you're not going to go to jail, I'm not going to tell your boss, I'm not going to put it on Facebook, but if you don't mind, How many people can say there are things that they see that they don't agree with? Raise your hand if there are things you see you don't agree with. I can tell you this, the fact that you're in this room, most of the time that happens because people are looking for a way to do things where they don't have to be a slave to one system of doing things. Let me say this to you. Even though we have so many people that can see that there's some problems, in order for the problems to change, we gotta get to a point that somehow we do something to make that change. If we do nothing at all, just like yourself, there are many nurses. In fact, when this gentleman, when they forced the DNR on him, there was a nurse who pulled his wife to the side. Now, his wife's a nurse too, but the lady pulled the wife to the side and said, listen, don't let them do that to your husband. That's wrong. Don't let them do that to your husband. Well, she was one of those nice nurses like yourself who cared. Well, just realize the fact that there are a lot of people who don't agree, but you got to be ready to do something. You would call me a medical revolutionary. I'm all the way about it. I'm all the way about it. This is all I do. This is my life. We've been blessed to have more than one facility now. We were trying to just work one facility, but circumstance gave us two. So we really have three. But point being made, these facilities were established to work. They were not established to collect and be greedy. We just want to work. We want to do what needs to be done. And think about it. You're going to always be a victim if you don't know, if you're ignorant, and if no one is enlightening you, and there's nobody in the collective that's building the people up. Do understand that you can go on YouTube right now and look at the third world countries online, and you can watch people make all kinds of stuff. Go to Pakistan. You'll see them weld and drill. They'll make a system that's running electricity with no electricity. But they have the resources to make the investment. If you really study their system, it's a collective that brings that about. If you want that, then get with like-minded people and start making things happen. And the one who has the deep passion, whoever burns the most, gravitate. And if you see that they're not out of their mind, work with them. Knowledge is vitally important. And I could tell you guys that natural medical knowledge, they're trying to make that disappear. There are books that I've been privileged to find that it's a miracle that I found the books. I heard a voice telling me what to do. And I will go online. By the time I download the book, it has no identity on the book. It don't even have no name at all. But they did it like that so that I guess the little bots can't identify the name on the book and do anything to the book, because it's just numbers. But when you download it, it's the book that you need. Well, in those books, what I'm learning is that nobody's talking about things that actually work. It's like they're hiding the stuff. And you look at it saying, wait a minute, if this worked in the 40s and it's successful, why don't you hear about it? I'm gonna ask you guys, maybe somebody here has heard about it. Anybody ever heard of something called PDT, photodynamic therapy? Photodynamic therapy? All right, I'm gonna tell you something else gonna shock you. Anybody here know what a big red soda is? Anybody know what a strawberry Fanta soda is? Anybody ever had red Jell-O? Okay, now listen to this. Do you know that that red dye, that comes from a little bug? We're going to talk about it later. And that little bug, that comes from his immune system. Scientists were using it as a stain to try to look at specimens through the microscope. But they noticed the stain was killing the cancer. And when they tried to research the cancer, the stain was killing it. It was chemo. That little bug's immune system was killing the cancer. So you know what they did? They got it and mixed it with a little bit of sugar, scraped some of the skin off some people's skin cancer, and they just packed it on, and the cancer just drew all of that material. Then they hit it with an infrared light, and the cancer cells oxidized and died. They've been doing this work since the 40s. You ain't heard nothing about it. Isn't that something? Well, I'll tell you what I've learned. I've learned that what the enemy is doing, he can't easily stop what you have access to. Everybody in here got a Bible, but the devil don't want you to have it. He can't move the Bible right now, so what he does is he gets you so busy that you don't have time to read it. What he's doing, he can't remove all the information that easy. So what he's doing is throwing things at your mind to keep you either spooked and scared to try things, or no time to research and study. Or he'll put out a news ad contradicting the therapeutic effects of that particular agent so that you're confused. And they already know that you're intimidated scientifically. So once you hear people who are so-called medical researchers, you kind of say, hands down, I can't compete, no contest, and you go the other way. But remember this, the human body doesn't change. If it worked, it works. Yeah, it's not an Apple computer, it's not a PC, it doesn't change, it stays the same. So those little red bugs live on the prickly pear. When y'all got a lot of cactus out here. If you take the prickly pear, you'll see a little white and a little red, like a white film with little bugs. If you take something and scrape that white part away, you'll see the little bugs. They sell them like black pepper. And in certain countries, they sprinkle them down and they crush them. And when they crush them, it makes a red dye. And they'll use that to color stuff. But those are little bugs. And those little bugs, that red material, cancer really likes it a lot. In fact, science says that they take an ultraviolet light, and once the cancer eats it, the cancer glows. That's one of the ways that they find out what kind of cancer you have. They feed that to the cancer, then the cancer actually glows when you hit it with an ultraviolet light. So they can see where the cancer is. I'll take one more.
Well, I have a question, Floyd.
Okay. All right, I'll take. Go ahead.
Okay,
Go ahead.
why should we not use baking soda straight?
Well, we are counseled, think about it, we are counseled that it causes inflammation in the system. We are told by the prophet that it causes inflammation inside of our bodies. So I'll say this. If you search it out, you'll find out you don't have to use the baking soda. You don't have to use a baking soda. There are other things you can use. Go ahead. Sorry.
Here you go, bro.
The Seventh-day Adventist, there's a prophet. Her name is Ellen White. She's an Adventist prophet. This woman has spoken a lot on medical issues. She died in 1915, but her counsel is accurate today. I mean, absolutely accurate. She talks about electricity in our bodies when scientists didn't even know that existed. She predicted that she said cigarettes was poison, and she said it shouldn't be put into the body. While the doctors were prescribing cigarettes for smoking to kids, saying it would strengthen the lungs. But we have settled into trusting her counsel, but this is where the substantiation of our scientific position rests. Even though when I first learned about her, I completely rejected her, didn't want to hear nothing she had to say. I was like, look, I believe in the Bible, and I don't want to hear that. And I don't mind saying it, I was really scared. I'm like, I don't know what that lady talking about. I don't want her getting in my head, and then I'm looking at my Bible cross-eyed, and I need to look at the Bible first, and then I'll deal with her. Well, as I got to know my Bible, I personally discovered that she was very accurate. I didn't believe her off the top, but as I lined my facts up, her commentary would be speaking the same thing I'm speaking. And I started saying, wow, man, she's on point with this. Well, I haven't found her to be off point. I'm at a point now that I'm like, wow, man, I'm shocked. But I know for sure that it's a prophet. Now, the beautiful thing about prophecy and written prophetic material is they can't go back and erase it and say they didn't say it. So if they lied or it's not true, you got the rest of the time to prove that. But if they say it and it come to pass and it's accurate, then you know, wow, this is something. And from what I found, I've never found her to be wrong. I'm gonna tell you something she prophesied that we don't hear about today. She said that black pepper was injurious to our digestive tract. Have you ever heard about that scientifically? We put, well, I ain't gonna say we, but in the modern age, people put black pepper on eggs, right? They don't even know what eggs are without black pepper. I'll say this and I'm gonna wind it up. Look at this, look at this. Research studies have proven that the oil extracted from black pepper is highly erosive. But they've noticed that the erosive nature of the oil gets more aggressive when it mixed with hydrochloric acid in the stomach. So watch this. You got hydrochloric acid and then you got this other erosive material and they meet up. It burns the stomach, and when the stomach gets burned, the stomach creates what I'm gonna call a chemical callus. The stomach forms like a chalk-like lining to try to deal with that harsh abrasion from that chemical. And when it forms that chalk-like lining, it does that in the arteries too. Anywhere that stuff travels, the body has to produce a callus to try to protect. And guess what happens? By the time it gets to the kidneys, shut the kidneys down. And if it shuts the kidneys down, it's gonna have a cascade effect on your respiratory passages as well as your eyes. And anything that messes with your kidneys and your respiratory tract is going to affect your blood pH directly, very directly. So I bring that out to say, she said it way back then, and today you don't hear much about it, if anything at all. But in my personal research, it has been clearly proven that, man, they know that so much, they should be telling people not to use black pepper. It's a poison. It's a poison. It's a poison. They ain't telling nobody. Guess what? Anybody, find somebody on dialysis, just go in the dialysis center and interview them and say, what the thing you did the most before you got on dialysis? What did you like the most? Some of them gonna say, I don't want no water. I don't like water. Somebody else gonna say, well, I had high blood pressure. But if you keep investigating, you're gonna find heavy coffee drinkers, heavy caffeine users, and you're gonna find people who like black pepper. Because black pepper it'll kill the liver and the kidneys. But no one says anything, just like they don't. We'll come back and we'll talk more, but I'll say this for the future. As we study here together, I will share with you things that have been kept secret from the masses. I ain't gonna tell you, I'm gonna tell you everything, because there's certain things, if you talk about it, just go back and do the research. Some of the guys that have done meetings like this, they go get on the train to go home and they don't never show up no more. They kill them. That's the truth. That's an absolute fact. And so I'm not afraid for my life. I just ask God for wisdom on how to do things. Because some information, you can put it out there, but the people may not even benefited from it. It was just good information, but nobody applied anything. So you just basically played Russian roulette. You put yourself out there like that without being effective. Whereas if you're going to deal with that, it's better to write it in books, spread them like the leaves of autumn. And if they decide to pluck you like a feather, at least that information is in everybody's hands. So they might as well not bother you, really. I want to thank you for your time. When we get into this kind of stuff, I can go on. I like talking about it, so we're going to prepare to close. Thank you again. I hope you come back. This week we got a lot of good information we're going to cover. We'll be getting into some diseases, but we'll also be getting into some demonstration. There will be consultations. Anybody who got some problems and you want some counsel, we will be doing consultations during the week here. Those consultations are without price. They don't cost you anything. If you called our office, you would pay for that. But here, the consultations are without price. So if you'd like to get some Bible counsel on methods or develop your own strategy or get somebody to help you conquer whatever the issue is you want to deal with, then now is the time if you'd like. I'm going to ask if you would bow your heads and pray with me. Hold on. Sorry, Russell. Listen, I'm going to tell y'all something. I promise you. It seemed fake. Listen, I've used it myself. It seemed fake. You can spray somebody. When we use it on the lungs, it's startling. I had a little lady, real quick. She was dying. When they called me on the phone, it's a good friend of mine. He said, my mother's dying. I said, what's the matter? He said, she has COVID. She can't breathe, and they said there's nothing they can do. They sent her home to die. So I prayed, Lord, what do we do? And my wife heard me, so she says, where is he? And I said, they're in LA. She says, find out where they at. They might be close to my mother's house. Now I had sent a protective package to my mother-in-law, trying to be a decent husband, trying to do right with the family. So mother-in-law already had her security packet. Well, I told him about my mother-in-law. He was just up the street from her. He goes to her house, gets the material, take it, sprays this woman down. She gets sleepy and go to sleep. Whenever you use that, you want to know if it's working, especially on people who are using it for the first time. If they're in a crisis, they get sleepy. You put it on, if they get sleepy, don't worry, that's normal. And if they get sleepy, you be happy because that means it's doing its job. She got sleepy, went to sleep, woke up, felt a whole lot better. But she did still have some lingering mucus. Well, we kept doing it. We had to do it about 4 days, but she's alive. We gave it to doctors in the hospital when their patients were dying. Some doctors used it and the people recovered. Some doctors used it and they didn't recover. We were not there, we don't know what happened, but everybody that we used it for, every person that I used it for, nobody died. During COVID, nobody that I used it for died, but there are some people who died in the hospital who got our products in the hospital. They were already there. But other than that, we had a lot of good testimonies of people in the worst conditions who recovered. Say that again? Oh, the kit. We have something that we were providing, selling, called a COVID pack. And a COVID pack is about 7 items. It's a bottle of herbal capsules that boost your immune system. And then there's some other symptom-specific herbs. There's a liquid inhaler that you can put in a cup and drink, but it'll affect your lungs as though you had an inhaler. The spray that we use is an external inhaler. Even though you're not sucking it through your mouth, you spray it on your body and it works so fast, it will remove inflammation from your lungs. Very good product. I'm surprised nobody said anything about it down here, but it was a very hot item during COVID. And people call me now for it. But during COVID, I got a million calls. But they called because they saw us interview online, and they saw us when we were sick, they saw us when we were well, and they knew it worked because they saw it. Then we started getting a lot of people coming online testifying. And we would have our meetings, and people would just be telling all the stories. So these are all natural products, nature-based products, stronger than most stuff you'll get in the store because it's still a fresh product. Whereas some of the stuff that they keep in the stores, it kind of sit for a while, and if they don't package it or preserve it the right way, it'll lose a lot of its strength. But hey, we've done it, we like it, we like the results. It speaks for itself. If I had enough, I would give you guys a sample. In fact, next week, I'll have some here, and I'll leave a sample, and you could just spray it. You just use it while you're here. Use as much of it as you want. I'll bring a big sprayer, and you could just, wherever you want to spray it, and then go home and see what happened. I can tell you ahead of time from what I've experienced, I really like the product. I love everything about it. Oh, Father, I got some crazy testimonies, y'all. I better be quiet. I'm gonna leave it there. Jesus. Wow. She said, if you don't stand for something, you will die for nothing. That's serious. I never heard it that way. Wow, wow, wow. Well, we might as well get ready. We know where the world is headed. We know what our calling is. Brothers and sisters, I can give you the material, tell you what to do. You do it and research for yourself. You'll learn more things. If she banged her leg, she don't have to do it no more. That one therapy is good enough. For us, one therapy. Yeah. Well, I'll say this. If she banged her leg, yeah, the one therapy is good. By tomorrow, you'll be able to tell how much it impacted you. And if you don't have no pain, that means it was impacted wonderfully. Even if you have pain, it will probably start to fade out. If you did it twice, it won't kill you. But most of the time, we only do it one time. I've never done it twice on pain that I know about. I would if it didn't work and I felt like I needed to, I would do it again. But it usually works the first time. I believe we're stronger than we think. There's a lot more medicine out here than we think as well. Say that again. I would say this. If you can close your eyes, you can spray it anywhere. Oh, you can use that on your hips, knees, spine, liver, neck. I just used it on a woman who had a goiter, and we got really good results. It's not that easy when it's somebody's neck, but you can put it anywhere. Fomentation, if you can immerse in hot water, you can put that on. And all it is hot water trapped in a towel. It just brings blood flow to the area wherever you put it. Try not to put it on the head without knowing what you're doing, because too much blood rushing to the head can get you a little dizzy, offset your balance, and give you headaches. We got to close, y'all, so we're going to close. I do hope you come back. We got a lot to share. In my heart, I'm actually blessed when I can share it. So let us pray. Our Father in heaven, Lord, we want to thank you again for your tender mercies and your loving kindness. Lord, there's just a settled spirit in this place, and we know that it is your own doing, dear Father. We ask in a special way that you would help our mind to hold on to the enlightenment you've placed in our hearts, the beautiful things you've laid out, Lord, the advantages, the therapeutic advantages that you've given our sister here on the stage, dear God. We just ask that, Lord, that you would bless her healing to be sure. And if it's something that needs to be serviced again, Lord, then let it be. Bless us, Lord, to make use of these herbs that you've given us to glorify you. Help us remember that we are called to glorify you with our bodies. Let us make the science of human health and recovery a very specialty investigative study. Let us make it our hobby to study the organs of the body, how they work and the chemical pathology and how they metabolically operate, dear Father. Thank you again for this high privilege and opportunity. Grant us safe travels as we prepare to separate. Let us come back in good timing. Bless the products that will arrive here, that whoever uses them will meet the true therapeutic value of your own provision to your people. Thank you in advance for all that you will do and have done. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.